What's going on, y'all? It's David or Dawhveed. So on Discord, I had asked you guys and girls if you would like to see me do some wacky tier list, and the best waifus of Borderlands 3 was by far the most requested. Upon making this tier list with the help of a couple people from my Discord, I found out that there are not too many important female characters in Borderlands 3. So I decided that along with ranking them and placing them into tiers, I will also be providing like a fun first date idea that I would take each character on, even the bottom tier characters. I do like to think that I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I like having fun with things like this. So without further ado, we're going to kick it off with Amara. So Amara for me is about an A tier. She's a little above average, and I feel like she's very open, so it's probably really easy to open up to her yourself. She's pretty attractive, but like nothing too crazy. Having said that, she is a little too tomboyish for my liking, but that won't stop us from like having a really good first date. She's probably really into sports, so I'm thinking like we would go to the park and play like basketball or tennis or soccer or something together, and then grab some pizza or something afterwards. Pretty simple, nothing too special. She's pretty much like a baseline character for our tier list. Next up is Aurelia Hammerlock.
Yes, I know.
So with Aurelia, I didn't actually play the other Borderlands series games, so all I have to go off of her is Borderlands 3, and I was not a very big fan of her in Borderlands 3. She isn't very attractive when it comes to looks. She has like this old lady vibe, and her personality is pretty shitty, so we're just gonna drop her in a D tier. As for a first date, I can't help but think of like ice related things with Aurelia, so I was thinking maybe like I'd take her ice skating and maybe get some snow cones or something afterwards. Pretty cheap date, but let's be honest, there probably wouldn't be any more afterwards anyways. Coming up next is Ava.
Cool if I take this. Thanks, later.
So Ava is a character that a lot of people that play this game have very strong feelings towards, and not in a good way. I personally did not really mind her character because I'm not extremely picky, but that doesn't change the fact that she is most likely underage.
FBI, open up!
So since she's underage, we're just going to by default place her into the no tier. Although I won't sell you short on the date idea. If I was her age, which is probably in like the mid-teens, like 14, 15, 16-ish, we'd probably just go hang out at like a high school sporting event, like a basketball or football game, and then just go get some like ice cream or frozen yogurt afterwards. Now on to Ellie.
My bad, finger slipped. Oh, howdy! Didn't see you there.
Woo, mama. Now if I was a giant memer, Ellie would go right up here in the triple S tier. But I do want to be as honest as possible, so she's just going to go all the way down to the S plus tier. No, I'm just kidding. She is down here right next to Ava. She just isn't my kind of girl. She would have been placed higher, but I had to think about something really important before I made my final decision.
Could we share a rowboat? Could a rowboat support her?
What are you asking?
I think I'm being very clear what I'm asking. Would an average size rowboat support her without capsizing?
And ultimately, no. I don't think that we could, so she is staying down here, even though I'm sure she has a great personality. Still, I wouldn't mind taking her out on a first date. I'm just throwing this out there, like going off nothing really, but I do get the sense that she would love a nice all-you-can-eat buffet-style restaurant or something like that. Maybe like sushi or Mongolian barbecue, or like somewhere we can just have like unlimited pancakes or something. Okay, so on to Lilith.
What's up?
Lilith was probably one of the better characters in Borderlands 3 in my eyes. She is rather pretty and very strong-willed and honest with herself and those around her. So her slightly above average looks and great personality nail her a spot right next to Amara in A tier. As for a first date, I was thinking that even though she's like the firehawk, something about her just tells me that she would absolutely love a nice beach date. Playing volleyball in the sand, building sandcastles, swimming in the ocean. I'm talking like the whole 9 yards. Alright, coming up next is Lorelei.
Get to cover! I'll hold them off! Bloody!
Lorelei, oh Lorelei. So for most of the game, up until a certain part, she was my favorite female character. She's a complete badass, very independent, and has a kick-ass accent that I pretty much fell head over heels for. For that, she's going to be our highest rank so far in the S+ tier. I think that for our first date, we would definitely make a Starbucks run first, because if you know anything about Lorelei, then you know she is a crazy coffee addict. Then next, I think she would have a hell of a time if we went like paintballing. Like, she might just have so much fun that she might go overboard and take out the whole other team by herself. Okay, up next is Maya. So like I said, I didn't actually play the other Borderlands games, so this game is all I really knew about Maya. So because of that, I don't really have an attachment to her with not much to go off of her. She is sort of attractive and has like a really kick-ass personality, but I just don't think that she's just my kind of waifu. All of you might hate me for this, but I am dropping her in the C tier for my list. She just doesn't bring much to the table for me. Although I think that we would have a good ass time on our first date. I get the feel that Maya would be really into clubbing, so I was thinking we can go to like an EDM nightclub and just have like lights in our face and loud music around us and like awkwardly bump into people every like 5 seconds. She would probably have a really great time, and who knows, maybe there would be other dates after to move her up on my tier list. Now next up is Moxxi. Ooh, Moxxi. I'm not going to say much about her. She's been pretty much created for one purpose, so I am just going to go ahead and quickly drop her on top at the SSS tier. You know what? Triple S isn't going to do her justice. I'm just going to go ahead and rename this. Okay, much better. For our first date, I, for whatever reason, like seriously, just no reason, none at all, was thinking the trampoline park? Okay, but seriously, something simple like dinner than dessert, if you know what I mean. Not too much to say about Moxxi since we're all probably thinking the same thing. Okay, anyways, on to Moze next. Moze at first glance seems pretty intense and in your face, but I do think that she has a pretty soft interior and would actually be really fun to hang out with. Maybe once like all this fighting and stuff is over and she gets a moment to relax and kick her feet up, she would simmer down and be a really chill and like lovely waifu. I am going to drop her into the B tier for that. When I was thinking about first dates for Moze, I was thinking about crazy stuff like going airsofting or just blowing shit up, but I came to a conclusion that I think a bowling and laser tag date would be right up her alley. Don't hate me for that one. Just like how I think her personality is, I think that laser tag is a lot more of a chill airsoft experience, and who doesn't love going out bowling? Next up is Tanis. So Tanis is sort of like your nerdy waifu on this list, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I actually really like Tanis' character and personality in Borderlands 3. After that scene with the Agonizer, I actually decided that she was my favorite character in the game. She's attractively nerdy, like very smart, and has a very pleasing side of humor to her. With that, I'm going to place her next to Lorelei in the S+ tier. Picking a first date idea for Tanis was actually really easy. I feel like she would have a little too much fun if we went somewhere like an aquarium, like the Monterey Bay Aquarium, where I actually do go once a year, or a museum like the MoMA or the Met in New York City. She'd probably be incredibly overjoyed and might not even want to leave. Next on the list is not so tiny anymore, Tina.
Move and you die. I will now read the crimes of the condemned. You kidnapped my... You moved. Whatever.
So just to be clear, I did do my fair share of research before this, and I did come to the conclusion that Tina is indeed at least 18 in Borderlands 3. So with that being said, Tina has a very outgoing and honestly attractive personality. She is a safe amount of crazy to a point where it's like sort of cute in a way. She is plenty funny and most definitely badass, and I have no doubt in my mind that if she wanted you dead, she would find the most artistic way to do it. So for that, Tina's going up in S tier because I really like her character. As for a date, I get the feeling that Tina is like an adrenaline junkie, so at first thought I was thinking something like skydiving or bungee jumping or something rather. But then I remembered that I myself am not a lunatic, so I thought of just stuff like a little more tame, maybe like a ropes course or like going to a place where you can pay money to just gear up and just smash everything in the room. Tyreen the Destroyer is next on the list. I'm just gonna go ahead and put her here for obvious reasons. I didn't really prepare much to say for this one, so yeah, no. Okay, moving on to normal Tyreen, however.
Well, I've taken your powers. Might as well finish you off.
Even though she seemed like a total dick in Borderlands 3, I think that if you take her out of like this apocalyptic element, Tyreen would actually be a really cool waifu to be around. She likely has a sensitive and like chill side, and I think that she's actually pretty easy on the eyes, not to mention her like crazy cool clothes that she wears. This might be a shock, but I'm actually going to put Tyreen up in A tier right next to Lilith and Amara because she isn't all that bad really. That being said, I think that our very first date should be something simple where she could like relax, but also express her wild side. I chose to have a picnic by the lake because it has a calming element to it, but when we're done eating, we can grab like a bunch of rocks and just toss them into the lake or skip them. I just get the feeling that she would just love throwing rocks. Down to the second to the last of the waifus, Ember. So easily, my favorite part about Ember is her voice. I'm a giant sucker for accents, and Ember has a very attractive, heavy accent. She's a good amount of badass and a great amount of dancer and pyromaniac. So with all of those things combined, I will put her next to Maya in the C tier. Even with all of those compliments, I just don't think that we would hit it off very well. Although I think that our first date would be a hell of a time. I was thinking something like sitting around a fire, just the two of us, dancing around it, roasting like hot dogs or something, and then eventually some s'mores, and then in the end, taking turns jumping over it and throwing things into it because I know she just loves playing with fire. And lastly, we have Genevieve, who I don't think actually had like an intro screen. Being AI as far as I could tell, I don't think that she's a very good waifu, so I'll just place her here in the bottom tier. Maybe if we got to see more of her in the game, she might have ranked higher, since I'm just going off a very small portion of the game where we see her, and she's a pretty big douchebag in that portion. I think our first date, since she's pretty much just AI, would be like me being at home, maybe like FaceTiming her while we watch like Netflix and chill, or just like watch a movie together or something. I don't know if we'd have any future dates, but after all this like crazy apocalyptic stuff blows over, maybe we could play like video games or something together. I don't know. She might be a fun part of my Discord community and post like funny memes or something. Which brings me to my last thing. That's actually going to be it for this tier list. Make sure to come swing by my Discord if you want to be a part of helping me decide on what wacky tier list to do next, or if you just want to hang out with me and like get some good Borderlands 3 loot. I'll leave a link to my Discord in the pinned comment below. While you're down there, make sure to rack attack that thumbs up button if this was something that you enjoyed, and make sure to gamma burst that subscribe button and notification bell to stay up to date on all of my content. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and I'll check you all in the next video. See ya!